The rain hammered against the floor-to-ceiling windows of the penthouse office as Kang Ji-hoon signed another document without bothering to read it. Blood money, protection fees, real estate acquired through less than legal means, it was all the same to him now. At 32 years old, he'd been running the Kang crime family for 7 years, ever since his father's assassination. 7 years of violence, betrayal, and power plays that would make most men lose sleep. Ji-hoon never lost sleep. His phone buzzed, a message from his second-in-command, Min-sok. The shipment from Busan arrived, clean, no problems. Good. That meant the weapons would reach their buyers by tomorrow, and another few million won would flow into their accounts. Money that would be laundered through their legitimate businesses, restaurants, nightclubs, real estate companies. The Kang family had their fingers in every profitable pie in Seoul's underworld. "Boss," his secretary's voice came through the intercom. "Your 8 p.m. is here." Ji-hoon checked his Rolex. Right on time. He respected punctuality, even in people he was about to threaten. "Send him in." The door opened and a sweating, nervous man in an ill-fitting suit entered. Park something. Ji-hoon couldn't be bothered to remember the names of small-time debtors. The man owed them 30 million won from a gambling debt, and he was 3 months overdue. "Mr. Kang, please, I just need more time." Ji-hoon raised one hand, and the man fell silent. That was power. Not needing to raise your voice, not needing to make threats. Just a simple gesture that made grown men stop breathing. "Mr. Park," Ji-hoon said calmly, leaning back in his leather chair. "Do you know what I hate most?" The man shook his head frantically. "Excuses. You made a debt, you pay it. Simple." He gestured to Min-sok, who stood by the door like a shadow. "My associate here will escort you to make arrangements. You have 1 week. If you don't pay, we'll take your restaurant. And if you run—" Ji-hoon smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "Well, Seoul is smaller than you think." The man was escorted out, and Ji-hoon returned to his paperwork. This was his life. Meetings, deals, threats, violence when necessary. He'd stopped feeling anything about it years ago. Empathy was a weakness in his world, and weakness got you killed. His phone buzzed again. This time it was his mother. "Ji-hoon, don't forget dinner this Sunday, and please try to be civil to the Choi family. Their daughter is a lovely girl." Ji-hoon sighed. His mother had been trying to arrange his marriage for years, parading eligible daughters of allied crime families in front of him like cattle at auction. The Choi family was one of the most powerful in Busan, and a marriage alliance would strengthen both families' positions. He didn't care. Marriage, love, family, these were just tools, transactions, nothing more. "Tell her I'll consider it," he typed back, knowing he wouldn't. At 10 p.m., Ji-hoon left his office in the exclusive Gangnam business district and headed to one of his clubs, Arena, to check on the night's operations. His driver, a silent ex-military man named Tae-young, navigated the Seoul streets with practiced ease. Arena was packed as usual, young people with too much money dancing to music that gave Ji-hoon a headache. But it was profitable, and that's all that mattered. The manager greeted him with a nervous bow. Everyone was nervous around Ji-hoon, and gave him the night's reports. Everything was running smoothly until Ji-hoon heard shouting from the VIP section. "I said no, get your hands off me." The voice was female, accented, speaking Korean but not perfectly. Ji-hoon's instinct kicked in. Trouble in his club was bad for business. He moved toward the VIP area, Min-sok and 2 other men following. In the roped-off section, he found one of his regular high-roller clients, a prosecutor's son named Yoon Jae-sung, drunkenly grabbing at a young woman who was trying to push him away. The woman was black, probably African or African-American, with natural hair in braids and wearing a modest dress that stood out in the club's typical scene of tight, revealing clothes. "Come on, baby, don't be difficult," Jae-sung slurred. "I paid for this VIP section. You're supposed to entertain me." "I'm not a hostess, I'm just here with friends." The woman tried to pull her arm free, but Jae-sung's grip tightened. Something hot flashed in Ji-hoon's chest, something he hadn't felt in years. Anger. Not the cold, calculating anger he used in business, but genuine fury. "Mr. Yoon," Ji-hoon said quietly, and the entire VIP section went silent. Everyone recognized him. Jae-sung's face went pale. "Mr. Kang, I was just—" "You were just leaving." Ji-hoon's voice was ice. "And you're banned from this club. Permanently." "But I—" Min-suk and the other men moved forward, and Jae-sung quickly stumbled away, his friends following. The woman rubbed her arm where Jae-sung had grabbed her, looking shaken but trying to hide it. Up close, Ji-hoon could see she was probably in her mid-20s, with warm brown eyes that were currently filled with a mixture of relief and wariness. "Are you all right?" Ji-hoon asked, his tone softer than he'd used in— he couldn't remember. "I'm fine, thank you, for helping." Her Korean was decent, with an accent he couldn't place. "I was here with my friends, and he just assumed I was working here." Ji-hoon's jaw tightened. He knew exactly why Jae-sung had made that assumption, and it made him want to do more than just ban the man from his club. "Are your friends still here?" The woman looked around the crowded club and shook her head. "I think they left already. We got separated. I'll have my driver take you home. Where do you live?" She hesitated, and Ji-hoon understood. She had no reason to trust him. For all he knew, he was just another predator. "I own this club," he explained. "What happened to you is bad for business. I'm simply making sure one of my customers gets home safely. Nothing more." After a moment, she nodded. "I live near Ewha Women's University, student housing." A student? That explains a lot. "Come with me." He led her through a back exit to avoid the crowd, Min-suk following at a discreet distance. Tae-young was waiting with the car, a black Mercedes S-Class. As they drove through Seoul's night-lit streets, Ji-hoon found himself curious about this woman who seemed so out of place in his world. "You're a student at Ewha?" he asked. "Yes, graduate program in international relations. I'm from Poland originally, but my family is from Ghana. I'm Ada Kowalska." "Polish and Ghanaian?" "My father is Polish, my mother is Ghanaian. I grew up in Warsaw but always felt connected to both cultures." She smiled slightly. "It's complicated." "I understand complicated. More than she knew." "What about you? You own the club?" "Import-export, real estate, hospitality. All technically true, even if he was omitting the criminal aspects. Business keeps me busy." They pulled up to her building, a modest student apartment complex. Ada unbelted her seatbelt but hesitated before getting out. "Thank you, Mr. Kang?" "Kang Ji-hoon." "Thank you, Mr. Kang, for helping me tonight." She got out of the car, and Ji-hoon watched her walk into the building, something unfamiliar stirring in his chest. "Boss," Min-suk said from the front seat, "do you want me to look into that Yoon bastard? Send a message?" "No, the ban is enough. But I want to know who that woman is. Full background check." Min-suk nodded, understanding. In their world, you didn't trust anyone until you knew everything about them. What Ji-hoon didn't understand yet was why he cared. Ada Kowalska collapsed on her bed, her heart still racing from the night's events. She'd only been in Seoul for 3 months, and she was still adjusting to everything: the language, the culture, the social dynamics. Her friends, other international students from Japan and Thailand, had convinced her to go clubbing for the first time since arriving. "It'll be fun," Yuki promised. "You need to relax, Ada. You're always studying." Some fun. She'd lost track of her friends in the crowded club, and then that drunk guy had cornered her, assuming she was some kind of hostess because, well, she knew why. Because she looked different, because clubs like that sometimes hired foreign women as entertainment. The assumptions people make exhausted her. But then that man, Mr. Kang, had intervened. There was something about him that was both terrifying and magnetic. The way everyone had immediately obeyed him, the quiet authority in his voice, the expensive suit, and the even more expensive car. He was clearly someone powerful. And the way he'd looked at her, just for a moment, with something that might have been genuine concern. Ada shook her head. She was here to study, to earn her master's degree, and eventually return to Poland to work in international diplomacy. Getting involved with mysterious, powerful Korean men was not part of the plan. Her phone buzzed, a message from her mother in Warsaw. "How is Seoul, Kohani? Are you eating well? Your father says to study hard but also have fun." Ada smiled and typed back, "Seoul is good, Mamo. Busy with classes. Miss you." She didn't mention the club incident. Her parents would only worry. The next morning, Min-sok placed a file on Ji-hoon's desk. Ada Kowalska, age 26, graduate student at IWA studying international relations. Father is Marek Kowalska, an engineer in Warsaw. Mother is Abena Mensa Kowalska, a nurse originally from Accra, Ghana. Ada grew up in Poland, did her undergraduate degree at the University of Warsaw, graduated top of the class. She came to Seoul on a scholarship 3 months ago. Clean record, no debts, no criminal connections, no red flags. Ji-hoon studied the file, including a photo of Ada from her student ID card. In the picture, she was smiling, looking hopeful and young, so different from the wary expression she'd worn last night. "Why is she in Korea?" Ji-hoon asked.
Her thesis is on Korean diplomatic relations with African nations. She speaks Polish, English, some French, and has been learning Korean. Smart, beautiful, ambitious, and completely out of his world. Ji-hoon should have closed the file and forgotten about her, but instead he found himself asking, "What's her routine? Where does she go?" Min-suk raised an eyebrow but answered, "Classes during the day, usually studies at a cafe near campus called Daisy's, sometimes visits the library, quiet life, no boyfriend that we can tell." "That's enough." Ji-hoon closed the file. "You can go." After Min-suk left, Ji-hoon sat in his office, the file still on his desk. He told himself he was just being thorough, making sure there were no complications from last night's incident. But the truth was something else entirely. For the first time in 7 years, Kang Ji-hoon was interested in something that wasn't business. 3 days later, Ada was studying at Daisy's Cafe, her favorite spot near campus. It was quiet, had good coffee, and the elderly owner, Mrs. Kim, had taken a liking to her, always bringing extra cookies with her order. She was deep into a paper on Korea-African Union trade relations when someone sat down across from her. "Mind if I join you?" Ada looked up and felt her heart skip. It was him, Mr. Kang from the club, wearing another expensive suit, looking completely out of place in the small, cozy cafe. "Mr. Kang, what are you—" "I wanted to make sure you were doing all right after what happened at my club. It was an unfortunate incident." Ada closed her laptop slowly. "I'm fine, but how did you know I'd be here?" A brief pause. "You mentioned you were a student at IHWA. This cafe is popular with students." It was a reasonable explanation, but something in his eyes told her there was more to it. Still, she found herself nodding towards the empty seat. "I'm fine, really, but thank you again for helping me that night." Ji-hoon ordered a coffee from Mrs. Kim, who gave him a curious look before shuffling away. The cafe suddenly felt smaller, more intimate. "What are you studying?" he asked, nodding toward her laptop. "International relations. My thesis is on Korean diplomatic and economic engagement with African nations." "That's specific. Why Korea and Africa?" Ada smiled. "Because I'm from both worlds, in a way. My mother's family is from Ghana, and I've always felt a connection to Africa, even though I grew up in Poland. And Korea is fascinating. You're a relatively small nation that's become a global economic power. Many African countries are looking to Korea as a model for development." Ji-hoon listened intently, and Ada found herself warming to the topic, explaining her research, her interviews with embassy officials, her analysis of trade patterns. "You're passionate about this," Ji-hoon observed. "I am. I want to work in international development eventually, help build bridges between different regions of the world." She paused. "What about you? You said you do business." "Import-export, real estate, hospitality. All technically true if he was omitting the criminal aspects. It's not as interesting as what you do." "I doubt that. Running multiple businesses? That takes intelligence and skill." Something in Ji-hoon's chest warmed at her words. When was the last time someone had complimented him for something other than his power or wealth? They talked for over an hour. Ada told him about growing up in Warsaw, about visiting Ghana with her mother as a child, about learning Korean and struggling with the formality levels in the language.
Ji-hoon found himself sharing more than he intended, about studying business because his family expected it, about loving photography as a teenager, but giving it up for practical pursuits, about the pressure of family expectations. He edited out the criminal empire, of course, but the feelings behind it, the weight of duty, the loss of personal freedom, those were real. Family expectations are universal, I think, Ada said thoughtfully. My father wanted me to study engineering like him. My mother wanted me to be a doctor. I chose international relations, and they both thought I was being impractical. She laughed. But they support me now. It took time, but they came around. Ji-hoon's phone buzzed insistently. Min-suk. Probably another crisis that needed his attention. The underworld didn't respect coffee dates. I have to go, he said, reluctantly. Business. Of course. Ada smiled. Thank you for checking up on me, Mr. Kang. That was thoughtful. Ji-hoon. Just call me Ji-hoon. Only if you call me Ada. As he stood to leave, Ji-hoon did something impulsive, something the calculating crime boss in him screamed against. Ada, would you have dinner with me? Tomorrow night. There's a restaurant I think you'd enjoy. They serve both Korean and international cuisine. Ada hesitated, and Ji-hoon could see the internal debate playing across her face. She was smart enough to know he was more than just a businessman. But there was also curiosity in her eyes, maybe even attraction. Just dinner, he added. Nothing more, I promise. Okay, she said finally. Tomorrow night. Min-suk was waiting in the car, looking stressed. Boss, we have a problem. The Hwang family is moving into Gangbuk. They hit 2 of our gambling dens last night. Ji-hoon's mind immediately shifted gears, the brief warmth from the cafe conversation freezing over. The Hwang family. Ambitious, reckless, and apparently stupid enough to challenge the Kang organization. Casualties? 3 of our men injured. They're sending a message. Then we'll send one back. Ji-hoon's voice was ice. Set up a meeting with their underboss, somewhere neutral. I want this handled quietly. As Tae-yang drove them back to the office, Ji-hoon stared out the window at Seoul's streets. 2 worlds were colliding in his life now, the brutal reality of his criminal empire and this unexpected connection with a Polish-Ghanaian graduate student who knew nothing about what he really was. He should end this now, cancel dinner, ghost her, let her finish her degree and return to Poland untouched by his world. But Ji-hoon had spent 7 years doing what he should do, what was expected, what was strategic. For once, he wanted to do what he actually wanted, even if it was dangerous, even if it was selfish. The next evening, Ji-hoon picked Ada up from her apartment in a different car, a sleek Audi instead of the Mercedes, less conspicuous. He'd also left his usual security detail behind, bringing only Tae-yang as a driver. The fewer people who knew about this, the better. Ada emerged wearing a beautiful dress that somehow blended African print patterns with a modern cut. Her braids were styled up, and she looked stunning. You look beautiful, Ji-hoon said, and meant it. Thank you. You clean up pretty well yourself, she smiled as he opened the car door for her. He'd chosen a restaurant in Itaewon, Seoul's international district, less chance of running into people from his organization, and the diverse crowd would help Ada feel comfortable. The restaurant, Le Chateau, was upscale but not ostentatious, with private booths and excellent fusion cuisine. Over dinner, their conversation flowed easily. Ada told him about her research interviews, the cultural challenges of being a Black woman in Korea, the stares, the touching of her hair without permission, the assumptions people made. I knew it would be different here. Korea is fairly homogeneous, but knowing intellectually and experiencing it emotionally are 2 different things. Sometimes I feel invisible and hypervisible at the same time. Ji-hoon listened. Really listened. In his world, everyone was afraid to be honest with him, but Ada spoke freely, treating him like a normal person. Does it bother you? The staring, the questions? Sometimes, but I try to see it as an opportunity to educate people. Most Koreans have never met someone like me. I can either be bitter about it or use it as a bridge. She paused. What about you? You must face expectations too. Running businesses, family pressure? Expectations are complicated for me. Ji-hoon chose his words carefully. My family has been in our business for generations. There's a way things are done, traditions to uphold. Sometimes I wonder what my life would have been like if I'd been free to choose differently. It's not too late, to choose. If only she knew how wrong she was. Men like him didn't get second chances or fresh starts. They were locked into their paths the moment they inherited the family legacy. But sitting here with Ada, watching her eyes light up as she talked about her dreams of working for the UN, of building economic partnerships between continents, of making a real difference, for a brief moment, Ji-hoon let himself imagine a different life. After dinner, they walked along the Han River, the Seoul skyline glittering across the water. It was a crisp autumn evening, and Ada pulled her jacket tighter. Without thinking, Ji-hoon draped his coat over her shoulders. She looked up at him surprised, and Ji-hoon saw something in her eyes. Warmth, attraction, maybe even the beginning of trust. "Ji-hoon," said Ada softly, "what are we doing here?" "I don't know," he admitted. It was the most honest he'd been in years. "I don't know. I just know I wanted to see you again." "I wanted to see you too, but—" She hesitated. "I'm only here for 2 more years. After my degree, I'll return to Poland, or maybe take a position elsewhere. And you have your life here, your business, your family obligations. This doesn't make sense." "Since when does attraction make sense?" Ada laughed, but there was uncertainty in her eyes. "I'm just trying to be realistic. I don't want to start something that's doomed from the beginning." Ji-hoon turned to face her fully. In the moonlight reflected off the river, she looked ethereal, caught between 2 worlds just like he was. "What if we don't think about 2 years from now?" he suggested. "What if we just see where this goes? No promises, no expectations, just 2 people who enjoy each other's company." It was the most he could offer. He couldn't promise her a future, not with the life he led, the enemies he had, the blood on his hands, but he could give her now. Ada studied his face for a long moment, and Ji-hoon found himself holding his breath like a teenager waiting for his crush's answer. "Okay," she said finally, "let's see where this goes." Over the next few weeks, Ji-hoon and Ada fell into a rhythm. He'd meet her after her classes, take her to restaurants where she could try different foods, regional Korean dishes she'd never encountered, Polish cuisine in Itaewon that made her nostalgic for home, fusion restaurants that blended cultures like she did. They'd walk through neighborhoods, and Ada would point out things she'd learned about Korean culture, asking questions that made Ji-hoon see his own city differently. They'd sit in cafes where she'd work on her thesis while he handled business emails, comfortable in each other's presence. Ji-hoon was living a double life now, more than ever. By day, he was Kang Ji-hoon, ruthless crime boss who just orchestrated a brutal response to the Hwang family's encroachment. By evening, he was the man who brought Ada her favorite pastries from a bakery in Gangnam, who listened to her practice her Korean presentation, who made her laugh with dry observations about Seoul's absurdities. His organization noticed the change, Min-suk especially. "Boss, you're distracted," his second-in-command said one afternoon. "The men are starting to notice. You left a strategy meeting early yesterday." "To handle other business," Ji-hoon said coolly. "Business named Ada Kowalska?" Ji-hoon's eyes went cold. "Careful, Min-suk. I'm trying to protect you, boss. This woman, she's not from our world. She's clean, legitimate."
If she finds out what you really are, she won't. And this conversation is over. But Min-suk's words haunted him. Every time he kissed Ada goodnight, every time he held her hand while they walked through Bukchon village, every time she smiled at him with complete trust, he felt the weight of his deception. She thought he was a businessman, legitimate, if perhaps a bit mysterious. She had no idea he'd ordered a man's death just 2 weeks ago for betraying the organization. She didn't know his hands were covered in blood, even if she couldn't see the stains. 1 month into their relationship, Ada invited Ji-hoon to her apartment for the first time. It was small, typically student housing, one room with a tiny kitchen, books everywhere, a desk covered in research papers. Photos on the wall showed her family: a white man who must be her father, a dark-skinned woman with Ada's warm smile, Ada herself at various ages and locations. "It's not much," Ada said, suddenly self-conscious, "especially compared to what you're probably used to." Ji-hoon looked around the small space and felt something unexpected: envy. This was a real life, honest and simple. No bodyguards, no hidden weapons, no constant calculation of threats and alliances. "I like it," he said honestly. "It's very you." Ada had cooked for him, a Polish dish called bigos with a Ghanaian side of jollof rice. It was an unusual combination, but somehow it worked, just like she did. "My father taught me the bigos," she explained as they ate, sitting on cushions on the floor. "My mother insisted on the jollof. They're both terrible cooks themselves, but they made sure I learned both cuisines." "You're close with your family?" "Very. I video call them every week. They worry about me being so far away, but they're proud, too," she smiled. "What about your family? You never talk about them." Ji-hoon tensed. His family, his mother who'd raised him to take over the organization after his father's death, his younger sister who'd been married off to solidify an alliance with the Lee family in Busan, his extended clan of uncles and cousins, all involved in the business, all watching him for any sign of weakness. "We're complicated," he said finally. "Traditional. My father passed away when I was young. I took over the family business. We're close, but not in an emotional way. It's more about duty and obligation." "That sounds lonely." It was. Ji-hoon had never admitted it before, but it was desperately lonely. He had men who feared him, allies who needed him, enemies who wanted him dead, but no one who actually knew him. Except maybe now he did. After dinner, they sat on her small balcony, looking out at the Seoul skyline in the distance. Ada leaned against him, and Ji-hoon wrapped his arm around her. "Ji-hoon, can I ask you something?" "Anything." "What exactly do you do? Your business, I mean. You're always vague about it." Ji-hoon's heart rate increased. This was it, the moment he'd been dreading. He could lie, give her the prepared cover story, or he could tell her some version of the truth and watch her walk away. "I told you, import-export, real estate." "I know that's what you said, but Ji-hoon, I'm not stupid. The way people react to you, the security you have even when you try to hide it, the phone calls you take that make your whole demeanor change." She turned to look at him. "I'm not asking you to tell me everything, but I need to know if I should be worried. Are you in danger? Am I in danger by being with you?" The honest answer was yes. Being associated with him put a target on her back. Any rival family could use her to get to him. Just last week he'd increased her security detail without her knowing. 2 men who followed her at a distance whenever she left her apartment. But he couldn't tell her that, because telling her would mean explaining why, and that would mean losing her. "My family's business has some complicated aspects. We've made enemies over the years, but I've taken precautions. You're safe, Ada. I'd never let anything happen to you." It wasn't a lie exactly, but it wasn't the truth either. Ada searched his face, and Ji-hoon forced himself not to look away. Finally, she nodded slowly. "Okay, I trust you." Those 3 words nearly broke him. She trusted him. This brilliant, honest, beautiful woman trusted him, and he was lying to her every day. 2 months into their relationship, things came to a head. Ji-hoon was in a meeting with the heads of the 5 families that controlled Seoul's underworld. They met quarterly to discuss territories, resolve disputes, and maintain the delicate balance that kept gang wars from spilling into the streets. The meeting was held in a private room at one of his restaurants. Security was tight. No phones, no weapons besides what the bodyguards carried, no records. They were discussing the Huang family's continued aggression when the door burst open. Min Suk rushed in, breaking every protocol. "Boss, we have a problem." The other family heads looked up sharply. This better be good, or Min Suk had just embarrassed Ji-hoon in front of the most powerful criminals in Seoul. "This meeting is in session," Ji-hoon said coldly. "It's about the Polish woman." Everything stopped. Every eye in the room turned to Ji-hoon. The other bosses knew about Ada. Information was currency in their world, and Ji-hoon's unusual relationship had not gone unnoticed. "What about her?" Ji-hoon's voice was deadly quiet. "The Huang family. They know about her. They have men watching her apartment. Boss, I think they're planning to grab her." Ji-hoon was on his feet before Min Suk finished talking. The careful mask he wore, the calculated calm, it all shattered. These animals were threatening Ada. "Meeting adjourned," he snapped. "We'll resume next quarter." The other bosses exchanged glances but didn't argue. They recognized a man on the edge of violence. In the car, Ji-hoon called Ada. Once, twice, 3 times, no answer. His heart hammered in his chest. Where was she? She should be at the library. She always answered his calls. "Get to Iwa now," he ordered Taeyong. To Min Suk, "Call our men. I want eyes on her location now." "Boss, she left the library 20 minutes ago. She's walking towards Hongdae, alone." Hongdae, crowded, full of young people, easy to snatch someone without witnesses noticing right away. Ji-hoon felt ice in his veins. "Find her, now." The drive to Hongdae felt like hours instead of minutes. Ji-hoon's phone rang, one of his surveillance team. "Boss, we have visual. She's at a cafe on Wausan Row, but we've got company. 3 Huang men closing in. Do not let them touch her. I don't care what you have to do." By the time Ji-hoon's car screeched to a stop outside the cafe, his men had already intercepted the Huang family's crew. Ada was inside, completely unaware, sitting with her laptop and headphones on, working on her thesis, while a potential kidnapping unfolded 50 meters away. Ji-hoon stormed into the cafe. Ada looked up, surprised and delighted to see him. "Ji-hoon, what are you—" "We need to go, now." His voice was harder than he'd ever used with her. "What? I'm in the middle of—" "Now, Ada." He grabbed her laptop, closing it. She saw something in his face that made her pack up without further questions. In the car, she finally asked, "Ji-hoon, what's going on? You're scaring me." He looked at her, this woman who'd somehow broken through every wall he'd built, who made him feel things he'd thought were dead inside him, who was in danger because of him. "There are people who want to hurt me," he said finally, "and they've decided the best way to do that is through you." "What are you talking about? What people? Ji-hoon, I don't understand." "My business? It's not what I told you. It's not completely legal." The words felt like broken glass in his throat. "My family, we're involved in things, criminal things, and we have enemies, dangerous enemies, and now they know about you." Ada stared at him, her face going pale. "Criminal things? What does that mean? Are you in a gang?" The words sounded so juvenile, so inadequate for what he actually was, but it was close enough. "Yes." "Oh my God!" She pressed her hands to her face. "Oh my God! This whole time? What are you, Ji-hoon? What have I gotten involved with?" "I run the Kang organization. We control most of Seoul's underworld. Gambling, protection, some weapons trading, real estate development, nightclubs, restaurants. Those are legitimate, but they're funded by and used to launder money from the illegal operations." Each word was a nail in the coffin of their relationship. Ji-hoon watched Ada process this information, watched her mentally reviewing every moment they'd spent together, seeing it all through a new, darker lens. You lied to me. Yes. You let me think you were just a businessman. Yes. Were you ever going to tell me the truth? Ji-hoon wanted to say yes, but he couldn't lie to her anymore. I don't know. Probably not. Ada laughed, but it was bitter, painful. So what was this? What was I to you? Some kind of, what, a distraction? A way to feel normal? No, Ada, you are, don't. She held up her hand. Just take me home, please. The rest of the drive was silent. When they pulled up to her apartment building, Ada grabbed her bag. There are men watching your building, Ji-hoon said quietly. My men, for your protection, until I resolve this situation with the Hwang family. You mean I'm under surveillance? I've been under surveillance, haven't I, this whole time? Ji-hoon didn't answer. He didn't have to. I want nothing to do with this, Ada said, her voice shaking. With you, with your world, with any of it. I came to Korea to study, to build my career, not to get caught up in some gangster drama. Stay away from me, Ji-hoon. She got out of the car and didn't look back. For 3 days, Ji-hoon buried himself in work. He dealt with the Hwang family swiftly and brutally. Their underboss was found beaten half to death in a warehouse with a message carved into his back, "Touch what's mine and die." The Hwang family backed off immediately. The message had been received. But it didn't matter. Ada wanted nothing to do with him, and he couldn't blame her. He'd lied to her, put her in danger, dragged her into a world she wanted no part of. Min-seok found him in his office at 2 a.m., drinking expensive whiskey and staring at security camera footage of Ada's apartment. She was safe, his men made sure of that, but she looked miserable. He'd done that to her. Boss, the Hwang situation is resolved. They've agreed to stay out of Gongbuk entirely. Good. And the woman? She's fine. She hates me, but she's fine. Maybe that's for the best. She was a distraction. Now you can focus on business. Ji-hoon poured another drink. Get out, Min-seok. After his second-in-command left, Ji-hoon pulled out his phone. He'd typed and deleted a dozen messages to Ada over the past 3 days. What could he possibly say? Sorry, I'm a criminal? Sorry, I lied? Sorry, I fell in love with you and ruined everything. He deleted the draft message again and put his phone away. Ada threw herself into her work. She had a thesis to finish, a degree to earn, a future to build, a future that had no room for crime bosses and gang wars and lies. But she couldn't stop thinking about him. Late at night, she'd remember the way Ji-hoon looked at her like she was something precious, the gentle way he draped his coat over her shoulders, the vulnerability in his voice when he talked about duty and family expectations. Had any of it been real, or was she just another mark, another tool in his criminal empire? Her friend Yuki noticed her distraction during their study session at the library. Ada, you've read that same page 5 times. What's going on? I want to tell her everything, but how could she explain? Just tired, working too hard. Is it that guy you were seeing, the businessman? You haven't mentioned him lately. We broke up. Oh, Ada, I'm sorry. What happened? He wasn't who I thought he was. That was the truth, if it was incomplete. Ji-hoon wasn't the successful businessman with family pressure. He was a crime boss with blood on his hands. Everything between them had been built on lies. Yet had it? The conversations they'd had, the way he'd listened to her, the way he'd looked at her like she was the only person in the room. Could someone fake that? Ada shook her head. She was making excuses for him. That's what people did when they were in love with the wrong person. They justified, rationalized, convinced themselves that maybe it wasn't so bad. But it was bad. Ji-hoon ran a criminal organization. He hurt people for a living. That wasn't something you could overlook. Her phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number.
There's an envelope taped under your mailbox. Please read it. J.H. Ada's heart jumped. She should delete the message, block the number, pretend she never saw it. Instead, she found herself going downstairs to check her mailbox. The envelope was there, just like he said. Inside was a single page, handwritten in a neat script. Ada, I won't ask for your forgiveness because I don't deserve it. I lied to you about who I am and what I do. I put you in danger. Those are facts, and I can't change them. But I need you to know that everything else was real. Every conversation, every moment we spent together, every word I said about how I feel about you, all of it was real. You made me remember what it feels like to be human, not just a tool of my family's legacy. I've made sure the threat to you is eliminated. The Huang family won't bother you anymore. I've also removed the security detail from your apartment. You deserve your privacy and freedom. I'll stay away from you as you asked, but if you ever need anything at all, you can reach me at this number. I hope you finish your thesis and achieve everything you've dreamed of. You deserve the world, Ada. I'm sorry I couldn't give it to you. And maybe. Ji-hoon. Ada read the letter 3 times, her vision blurring with tears. Damn him. Damn him for being a criminal and a liar, and also somehow the most honest person about his feelings that she'd ever met. She should burn the letter, delete the number, forget he ever existed. Instead, she folded it carefully and put it in her desk drawer. 3 weeks passed. Ji-hoon attended meetings, managed his businesses, approved operations. He functioned, but he didn't feel alive. That part of him had walked away with Ada that night in the car. His mother called, insisting he come to dinner to meet the Choi family's daughter again. Ji-hoon, you need to settle down. This girl is perfect for you. She understands our world, our expectations. Stop being stubborn. Our world, that was the problem. The Choi daughter understood the criminal underworld because she'd grown up in it, just like him. She'd make a suitable wife for alliance purposes, just like his sister had been a suitable bride for the Lee family. But she wouldn't challenge him. She wouldn't ask him about his dreams. She wouldn't look at him like he was more than just his family name and his position. She wouldn't be Ada. Ji-hoon, I'll think about it, Mother. You always say that. Ji-hoon, you're 32 years old. Time is... His other phone rang, the secure line only his inner circle had. I have to go, Mother. It was Min-sak, and his voice was urgent. Boss, we have a situation. It's about the Polish woman. Ji-hoon's blood ran cold. What about her? She's been asking questions.
Lots of questions. About you, about the organization. She's been talking to people. Club employees, people in the neighborhood. Boss, I think she's investigating you. She's writing her thesis on Korean economic development. She's probably just doing research. No, boss, this is different. She's specifically asking about you, about the Kang family's businesses. One of our guys overheard her on the phone talking about criminal enterprises and documentation. Boss, what if she's planning to expose us? Ji-hoon felt like he'd been punched in the stomach. Ada wouldn't do that, would she? She was angry, hurt, but she wasn't vindictive. She wouldn't... Except she believed in justice, in the rule of law, in doing the right thing. And the right thing would be exposing a criminal organization operating with impunity in Seoul. Don't do anything, Ji-hoon ordered. Just watch her. Don't interfere, don't approach her. Just watch. Understood? Boss, if she's gathering evidence... I said don't do anything. Ji-hoon hung up. He sat in his office, his mind racing. If Ada was building a case against him, she had every right. He'd lied to her, put her in danger. Exposing him would be justice. But it would also destroy everything. His organization, his family, everything his father had built. His mother, his sister, his men, they'd all suffer. And Ada herself would be in danger. You didn't expose the Korean mafia and walk away unscathed. Other families, rivals, corrupt officials, they'd all see her as a threat. Ji-hoon grabbed his coat. He had to talk to her, had to find out what she was doing, had to make her understand the danger she was putting herself in. Even if she hated him, even if she never wanted to see him again, he had to protect her, even from herself. Ada was in the university library, surrounded by books and documents, when Ji-hoon found her as he approached her table in the quiet study section. "We need to talk," he said quietly. "I have nothing to say to you." She looked back at her laptop, but Ji-hoon could see her hands were shaking. "Then just listen. Ada, I know you've been asking questions about me, about my organization. Whatever you're planning, you need to stop." Her head snapped up, eyes flashing with anger. "Are you threatening me?" "No, I'm trying to protect you. If you start digging into things you don't understand, if you try to expose what we do, Ada, you have no idea how dangerous that would be. So I should just ignore it? Pretend I don't know that you run a criminal empire? Look the other way while you do God knows what?" "Yes." Ji-hoon's face rose. Then he forced it back down, remembering where they were. "Yes, for your own safety, yes. These aren't American movies, Ada. This is real. The people in my world, they don't just threaten, they act. And they won't care that you're a foreign student with good intentions." Ada stood up, gathering her things. "I'm not afraid of you or your world, Ji-hoon." "Then you're stupid, and I know you're not stupid." She flinched like he slapped her. "Don't you dare." I'm sorry, that came out wrong." Ji-hoon ran his hair through his hair, frustrated. "Ada, please, I'm begging you. Whatever you're planning, whatever you're researching, stop. Walk away. Finish your degree and go back to Poland and forget you ever met me." "Is that what you want? For me to just forget you?" The question hung in the air between them. Ji-hoon looked at this woman who'd somehow become everything to him in just a few short months, who made him want to be someone different, someone better. "No," he admitted, "but it's what's best for you." Ada's eyes filled with tears. "You don't get to make that decision for me. You don't get to lie to me for months and then suddenly decide to protect me by pushing me away. I'm not a child, Ji-hoon. I'm a grown woman who can make her own choices." "Then choose to stay safe. Choose to stay away from this." "And if I can't? If I—" She stopped, taking a shaky breath. "What if I still love you, even though I shouldn't? What if I hate what you do, but I can't stop thinking about you? What then?" Ji-hoon felt his carefully constructed walls crumbling. She still loved him. Despite everything, despite the lies and the danger, she still loved him. "Then we're both fools," he said softly. They stood there in the quiet library, surrounded by books and students, two people from completely different worlds who'd somehow found each other and didn't know how to let go. "Tell me the truth," Ada said finally. "All of it. No more lies, no more half-truths. If you want any chance with me, I need to know exactly who you are and what you do. Everything." Ji-hoon knew this was a terrible idea. The more she knew, the more danger she'd be in. But he was tired of lying, tired of the weight of deception. "Not here," he said. "Come with me. I'll tell you everything, and then you can decide what you want to do." Ada looked at him for a long moment, then nodded. "Okay, but Ji-hoon, if you lie to me again, even once, we're done. Completely. Understand?" "I understand." Ji-hoon took Ada to a place he'd never brought anyone before, a small apartment he owned under a false name in Yongsan. It was his escape, the one place in Seoul where he could be just himself, not the Kang family heir, not a crime boss, just a man. The apartment was sparse but comfortable. Books on the shelves, a camera collection on a desk by the window, photographs on the walls, landscapes, street scenes, moments captured in time. Ada looked around, surprised. "You took these?" "Years ago, before I took over the family business. Photography used to be my passion." She studied a photo of a sunset over Busan, the light captured perfectly. "You're talented. Why did you stop?" "Because crime bosses don't take pictures, they take territories." Ji-hoon gestured to the sofa. "Sit. I'll tell you everything."
And he did. For 2 hours, Ji-hoon laid bare every ugly truth. He told her about his father's assassination when Ji-hoon was 25, how he'd been thrust into leadership of the organization. He explained the structure, the gambling operations, the protection rackets, the weapons trading with Yakuza groups in Japan. He told her about the violence, the bribes to police and politicians, the territorial wars. He told her about the people he'd ordered killed. Not many, he wasn't a sadist, but enough. Men who'd betrayed the organization, rival gang members, a corrupt politician who'd tried to blackmail them. He didn't spare himself, didn't try to justify it. I'm not a good man, Ada. I've done terrible things. I'll probably do more terrible things. That's who I am. That's the life I was born into, and the life I'll die in. Ada had listened without interrupting, her face unreadable. Now she sat in silence, processing everything. Why are you telling me all this? You could have just scared me off, threatened me, made me go away. Why trust me with this information? Because you deserve the truth, and because, Ji-hoon met her eyes, because I love you. I've never said that to anyone before. I didn't think I was capable of it, but I love you, Ada Kowalska, and you deserve to make your decision based on the full truth of who I am. Tears streamed down Ada's face. You can't just say that. You can't tell me you're a criminal who's killed people and then say you love me in the same breath. I know it's not fair. Nothing about this is fair. Do you want to change? Do you want to leave this life? Ji-hoon had asked himself that question 1,000 times since meeting Ada. I don't know if I can. My family, my people, they depend on me. If I walk away, there'll be a power vacuum, wars, people will die. And my mother, my sister, everyone connected to the Kang name, they'll all be vulnerable. So you're trapped. Yes. Ada stood up and walked to the window, looking out over the Seoul skyline. Ji-hoon watched her, memorizing every detail, knowing this might be the last time they were alone together. My whole life, Ada said quietly, I've believed in doing the right thing, following the rules, working within the system to make change. My thesis is about legal frameworks for international cooperation. I believe in justice, in law and order. I know. Being with you would go against everything I believe, everything I've worked for. It would make me complicit. I know that too. She turned to face him. But I also believe in redemption, in the possibility that people can change, that people can be better. And I believe, she wiped her tears, I believe that you're more than what you do. I've seen your kindness, your vulnerability, the man you could be if you weren't carrying this weight. Ji-hoon, I'm not finished. She took a shaky breath. I can't be with you while you're doing this. I can't be the girlfriend of a crime boss, can't pretend that everything is fine while people get hurt. But she walked towards him. If you want to change, if you genuinely want to find a way out of this life, I'll help you. I'll stand by you. Not because I approve of what you've done, but because I believe in who you could become. Hope flared in Ji-hoon's chest, dangerous and painful. It won't be easy. People will come after us. My family will see it as betrayal. I know, but nothing worthwhile is easy. Ada took Ji-hoon's hands. I'm not naive, Ji-hoon. I know we might fail. I know you might not be able to walk away, but I need to know you'll try, really try. Ji-hoon pulled her close, holding her like she might disappear. I'll try. I swear to you, I'll try. They kissed then, desperate and real, two people from different worlds choosing each other despite every logical reason not to. The next 6 months were the hardest of life for Ji-hoon. He began the delicate, dangerous process of extricating himself
from the organization. He promoted Min-sok to handle day-to-day operations. He started divesting from the illegal businesses, selling off territories, shutting down operations. His family was furious. His mother stopped speaking to him. His uncles called emergency meetings, accused him of weakness, of betraying his father's legacy. You're destroying everything for a woman? His uncle Jong-soo spat. A foreigner who's bewitched you? No, Ji-hoon said calmly. I'm doing this for myself. The woman just gave me the courage to try. There were attempts on his life, rivals who saw his withdrawal as weakness. He survived 2 assassination attempts, both times thanks to loyal men who still respected him even as he was leaving. Ada stood by him through it all. She finished her thesis, a brilliant analysis of Korean economic development that carefully avoided any mention of criminal enterprises. She got job offers from the UN and several international NGOs. I'm staying in Seoul, she told him, at least for now. You're going to need support, and I'm not abandoning you. Her family was less understanding. When she told him about Ji-hoon over a video call, the reaction was explosive. "You're dating a gangster," her father shouted in Polish. "Have you lost your mind?" "He's leaving that life, Tata. He's changing." "People don't change, Ada, not like that." But her mother, Abina, was quieter. "Does he treat you well? Does he respect you?" "Yes, Mama, he does." "Then we trust your judgment. But please, Kochani, be careful." 12 months after that conversation in the library, Ji-hoon finally did it. He officially stepped down from the Kang organization. Min-sok took over as head, promising to transition the family toward more legitimate businesses. It wasn't perfect. Crime families didn't just disappear, but it was something. Ji-hoon kept only his legitimate businesses, the restaurants, the real estate holdings, the nightclub. Everything legal, everything clean. It wasn't the empire his father had built, but it was honest work. He and Ada got a small apartment together in Itaewon, a neighborhood that celebrated diversity and difference. She took a position with an NGO working on Korea-Africa economic partnerships. He reopened his photography business, slowly building a reputation as one of Seoul's best cultural photographers. They weren't naive. They knew Ji-hoon's past would always be there, that his former life would cast a shadow. But they chose each other anyway, day after day. One evening, 2 years after they met, Ji-hoon and Ada sat on their balcony watching the sunset over Seoul. She was editing photos from a recent trip to Ghana where they'd visited her mother's family. He was reviewing a contract for a photography exhibition. "Do you ever regret it, giving up all that power, that money?" Ada asked. Ji-hoon thought about it, honestly. He'd given up billions of won, influence, fear-based respect, but he'd gained something he never had before, peace. "No," he said, pulling her close. "I don't regret it for a second." "Even though your family still won't speak to you?" "Even then. I have you. That's enough." Ada kissed him softly. "I love you, my reformed gangster boyfriend. And I love you, my persistent, stubborn, brilliant girlfriend who wouldn't let me stay in the darkness." They sat together as the sun set, 2 people who had no logical reason to work, but somehow did. A crime boss who chose love over power, a student who chose hope over fear. Their story wasn't perfect. There were still hard days, still moments when Ji-hoon's past caught up with them, still family members who disapproved, but they faced it together, building something real out of the most unlikely beginning. Sometimes the best love stories aren't the easy ones. Sometimes they're the ones that require you to be brave, to change, to believe in the impossible. So that's the story of Ji-hoon and Ada, the Korean mafia boss who fell for the Polish-Ghanaian student and chose to change his entire life for love. If you loved this story of unexpected romance, redemption, and cross-cultural connection, please subscribe to the channel. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss our next story. And here's a question for you. If you were Ada, what would you do? Would you walk away from Ji-hoon the moment you discovered he was a crime boss? Would you give him a chance to change like she did? Or would you do something completely different? Let me know in the comments below. I want to hear your thoughts. Remember, love is complicated, and sometimes the most unexpected people come into our lives and change everything. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next story.